Nice job,
I think somebody was.
Nice job.
I
Thank you.
think the backing out is an issue.
Barbara said that.
But you know, what, they've been doing it that way for a long time without ever change.
I have no idea if that's true,
Well, I think they do something.
but I think it is, so I figured I'd start there.
Yeah.
All right, the five of us are what we're getting tonight. Mark and Mike can't make it, so we can officially start. And we don't have the agenda printed out. I know Julie wasn't in today, so I'm gonna go with our.
Last 3 months.
The same way we use every time?
Yeah. I'm just quickly writing down my thoughts from the agenda to make sure I don't skip anything.
I got the agenda that you printed, if you need to remind you.
That's true. I'm not that fast though. I will start, I'll go out of order from I think the printed agenda. I'll start with wetlands. We'll just go through everything. Thanks.
Public comment, should we do that?
I did not do public comment, but I figured both comments are Jackson Falls. Sorry, I should have asked. I think I'll quickly go through the other things, which should be super quick, and we'll get to the falls. So wetlands permits, for annual easement monitoring, I didn't email everyone like I said I would. I'm sorry. We can do that.
We still have time, right?
Yes, until the end of the year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's nice switching times to move. Well, summer or fall.
Same assignments, right?
Yeah, same assignments.
Good.
Other things, looks like the Forest Service got their permit from the state to do the parking lot up by Double Down, Dundee. We still don't know what the plan is, but they have permission to do it, is what that says. This is kind of in wetlands regarding, Brian brought up last month that the trust, which owns the golf course, which underlies the Wentworth Golf Course, is potentially interested in reaching out about what to do about it, and we have received a letter which reads, Dear Conservation Commission Chair, we would like to inform the Conservation Commission that we, the owners of Eagle Mountain Golf Course, are currently exploring all options for the future as we consider if and how to restructure our company, CHP Realty Trust. Sincerely, Evan Miller and Angus Badger, the trustees of the trust. And they ask if anyone has any questions to approach them.
I did contact the land trust, and they're in before the board, and I haven't heard anything back.
Okay. Well, we have the contact information for the trustees that like to.
Did you have a nice time?
Yes, Penny
Me too.
was very forthcoming and nice.
Yeah, I think the other organization probably in town that might want to look at it is the Jackson's Detouring, simply because they're using that as part of their process.
I got the impression the 11, well, how many ever it is that make up the trust are deciding and not sure what direction to go as.
Yeah.
Right?
No, I appreciate,
They're
yeah.
divided.
And essentially asking to not have pressure put upon them, but.
We
They've got some-
appreciate.
They've got some.
But yeah, I agree.
It was a little premature.
I agree.
Thinking out loud, sorry.
No, that's, we all like that. Let's see.
Did you see the letter, please?
Yes, here you go.
I mean, I wonder if they get read.
I have nothing for Gray's Inn, nor for Prospect Farm, unless either anyone has for those. And I guess on the topic of wetlands, we have Dora Phillips here. Do you want to do your bit on the wetlands? I didn't print out the agenda, so I forgot the parcel about what you're speaking, but
Sure, it's Reserve Brook.
Reserve Dam.
great.
Dams.
Hopefully it'll be dam.
Yeah, you want to talk about that?
Grace Field, Grace.
And what?
Or the Woodville, all connector.
Okay.
The water precinct has their dams, and we designed it all. It's actually happening.
But it's drafty.
So I'll give you the quick rundown. So this is a project that's been probably 10 years in the making so far, but what the Jackson Water Precinct wants to do is eliminate the lower dam. I'm gonna go back, I'll step there. I don't think we've been up to Reserve Brook to the ends up at Reserve Brook.
Only in the wintertime on skis.
So Jackson Water Precinct has a backup water reservoir up there, and it used to supply the precinct years ago.
Yeah.
But so now it's just backup water supply. It's also
Just go into the Ellis.
There actually there's a pipeline that comes down and it goes into the intake pipe comes down, goes into the water treatment plant already, and they actually use the power from it to generate power to pump the river water, treated river water, back up into the water system. So it helps offset, it's only like maybe 15-20% offset in power costs, but because the water's going down anyway, they just tap onto it, run a turbine and spin it backwards and pump the water up to
They send
Get the other
you
one.
water back.
yeah, exactly. So it's just you're using it as a sort of pump, so it's sort of free power up there, I guess you want to speak, but it's also a backup water supply. So if ever a tanker dumped in the Ellis River or something like that and they got contaminated, they could turn on that water supply and feed it through the treatment plant and use it. Doesn't have quite the capacity the other had, but it's a lot better than nothing. Right. So what they have been planning for a long time is what they'd like to do is expand one of the reservoirs and improve the whole dams. And the dams, both dams are pretty terrible condition up there, they're right up there. So they'd like to expand the upper reservoir and remove the lower one. The lower dam's in really bad shape.
Yeah, it's almost not even a reservoir anymore.
Right.
It's just
So the big picture plan is take out the lower one, expand the upper one, rebuild the dam, rebuild the in-straight structure. So now we have aquatic flows in the stream, and we're actually putting a fish passage around it, so there will be fish passage up past the upper dam too. Which so that's the plan. This year the goal is just to just to get rid of the lower dam, and it'll probably be 3 years or something like that, 4 years before they actually do any work above. So, but as far as permitting goes, you get credits for taking out dams, but they don't like you working on expanding dams or those things. So we're doing the application together, so that it
Right.
kind of helps us.
Right.
We just kind of trade off a little bit. So we're basically just putting in the wetlands application, and I just wanted to go over that with you. And I was supposed to have the application from the wetland scientist. I don't today. I was hoping you guys can sign it when you had a chance to go up and look at the site. I'll drop that off another time. But the plan pretty much shows that, well, if you've been up there, there's the ski bridge, 1,000 feet before you get to the dams.
Right.
And sometimes they put a logging bridge across. There's a unnamed brook there. So we have now in a temporary bridge over that, and we've had a contractor haul in materials and store them on site. We received some grant money from the Forest Service, so we use that money now to put in a temporary bridge and haul the materials we need to do the lower dam. Part of the lower dam removal is this the lower dam created this diversion channel around it, and it created this big gully that goes down through the woods, and it actually sends water into an old landfill. And so
It's always good, yes.
right, so it was dump, it's like I think the Gray's Inn.
Right, so it Gray's Inn.
But there's concern that as it drops into this old pit, that it's eroding that pit and carry stuff out of the Forest Service. So that was part of the reason they gave us the grant to help with this. So as part of our lower dam removal, we're blocking off that old channel. So we've got a berm and some heavy riprap and done all the calculations for it. So this year, our goal is to get that out and that blocked off. But we want to have the permit for the upper dam at the same time. We won't have every detail there, but we have all our wetlands impacts calculated and basically put together for them. So we'll end up submitting more detailed plans to the dam people in the future. But for right now, we're just trying to get the permit so we can pull that.
So is Reserve Brook back there?
The reserve,
So we're probably
Green Hill.
Okay, because you're saying it's Gray's Inn dump, I was trying to figure out how to.
Well, the Gray's Inn field is
Oh, Gray's Inn Field,
up
okay.
there.
So this is the little story. These dams were actually the lower dam was built like I think the late 1800s, and it was used to hydraulically power a elevator in Gray's Inn. So they ran a pipeline from Gray's Inn all the way around and over, and they set it at an elevation. So they would, before you had fancy elevators, they'd open a valve, the water pressure would lift the elevator up in the building, and then they'd close it, drain it, and the elevator would go down. So this is how they operate the elevators. Well, they put the lower dam in, and then they figured out the elevator didn't go up as much as it should. So then they built the upper dam. So that's why there's two dams in there. So a little bit of their history that way.
Controlling headwaters is huge too, as all companies do, because
Right. So there's an old bottle dump part of this. We've got an access road that goes in. It's been there forever. We're going to improve it a little bit just to get construction vehicles by it. And it goes through an old, basically bottle dump. They call it a cultural site. So as part of this project, we have to put a foot of dirt, gravel over the top of that, filter fabric down, and then a foot of gravel over it. So the historic people, that's the requirement of it. Just so whatever is in that bottle dump or dump there will still be there, just be buried below a foot. So, for the most part, I think I described the thing. I've got some more detailed plans. This is the upper dam. Sure.
How much larger is the other one now than it was before?
A proposal?
Yes.
The footprint of it's maybe
A little bit larger.
30% bigger, something like that. But we just part of the issue is the existing spillway for that dam won't pass the required flows the dam bureau wants to pass. Right, it's a 50-year flow plus a foot, and then they have to, 100-year storm plus a foot has to be able to go over the spillway without spilling over the.
What would be
dam.
the volume increase? Did that actually change the nature of what that's going to
I
have?
don't recall what the volume is. It's not a huge difference. We were just trying to get the same storage volume as a tank, but in the village.
Yeah.
That's what we were going for. It's not a huge difference. But because we hold the spillway, and then we had to make it wider to get the flows through it, and then the amount of water that piles up going over the spillway is higher, and then you add the freeboard. So the berms have come up on the side. So it looks like a lot more impact. I guess to a certain extent it is. But a lot of it's just for the dam safety requirements of having enough width and enough height over the existing spillway. The spillway crest stays the same elevation as it's been.
Right.
There's no change there. It's just
Oh, really?
improving. It's improving, so we're not changing the spillway elevation.
it'd be dredged though, right? I mean, it's all back.
Yeah.
It's completely.
Any dams,
Built in.
as you get water,
Yeah.
sediment streams move sediment.
Right.
And it's supposed to move what goes in, what goes out. When you put a dam in there, it just deposits. So every once in a while, you have to go and excavate the sediment.
Yeah.
It's-
So is the real focus really just on storage, or is it going to actually improve water quality or any other
It's-
benefits? that
It's
they
the
expect?
primary benefit is increased storage, but the primary benefit is just completely new intake structure and a new dam. So
Improvement.
just it's in tough shape.
How about, topside in terms of the actual environment? Is there going to be a change in the amount of water surface or for wildlife or at all or anything like that?
A change in the amount of
Water surface? Because the dam's going to be a larger...
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't tell. I mean, just looking at the plan, I'm looking at the existing water surface to the future one, and it's bigger, but it's probably
Not substantially
20% bigger or something, maybe.
Yeah, well, but that may be a benefit, actually, in some respects.
Yeah, Dam Bureau, they don't like any ponds and streams, to be totally honest. They have their way. We pull out all the dams and put it back to them. But it is a backup water supply. It does provide some power.
But it's not substantial, though.
Right.
It's relatively flat there too.
Yeah, it is.
Right on side.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think through what the impact might be to
Well,
the
that
actual
is-
area.
Is that area of road is terribly, like you're saying, at first, the lower dam, that channel is, you can't tell which is the real river and which one isn't. It just
Yeah.
washed out. It's pretty.
Is it spring source or is it?
It's Missouri, it's Maple Mountain and Popple,
So it's just, right,
and those are the sources, I'd say.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, I'm trying, I did the, it's been a while since I've done the calculations, but I think it'll provide full water to the precinct for, I think, probably 9 months of the year, something like that. And then it's limited capacity in the, some of the dry periods, probably in the summer.
So that makes a great reserve.
What's that?
Makes a great reserve.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've never seen it go dry.
What does witness mean on the plan?
It's a property corner and it's a witness corner. That's what it is. It's a offset from the actual property corner. The precinct owns a piece of land there within the Forest Service boundary, and that's just, they call it a witness corner. There's a reference from that witness to where the actual what U.S. Forest Service boundary is.
I guess my one question is where, once the other dam is pulled, what represents the correct course of Missouri Brook?
So here's the, this is the lower dam plan. I should have brought big ones for a little easier to work with. So this is really physical, complicated right now. I apologize for that. But basically, the existing dam, here's the access road we come up in. The existing dam is this really dark shaded part that comes across. So that comes out. So the main channel, these two streams up above will stay as they are. The one actually closer to the road is the main channel, and then over here is a berm that's getting constructed over to the right.
So we directed to the part that says like remove 50 linear feet lower down, that would be...
Exactly. So the water's going to come right through and continue down that one. The ones closer to the road, these are all just relatively new. When you look at them, they just look like they're a bunch of
washed out, nasty boulder fields,
Right.
trenches.
Where does the access road come out? I'm trying to place it in.
90-degree corner. So if you come from Gracefield, you go up towards Whiffordale, levels out, and there's a 90 across the bridge. There's a 90-degree corner,
Yeah.
and then you start
right.
going to the left.
To that,
If you climb.
Well, depends on which way you're going.
Okay.
To the left.
If you're going uphill, it's on the left?
Yes, if you're going uphill. Right, if you're going.
It's a little dizzy, but it's not winter. It's obvious. You just stay straight. And there's a 90-degree corner.
Yeah.
And then right where that 90 is, you go right.
And then they go next to the...
That's the access road. That's...
Is the access road the same as the new ski touring trail?
No.
No.
No, they don't want to back there.
But you're still like, does the access
Actually,
road
on
come
this
down
plan-
off of
I think I just showed it. Yeah.
So if you were coming up, this is the temporary bridge that's in there now. So I think
Where are you getting Green Hill Road to start?
Ellisburg is way over here, then there's a trail that goes through Gray's Fields, I think they call it.
Right, that's the hall connector.
The hall connector goes over this bridge.
So are the trucks coming up the Isles River Trail, or where are they?
No, they're coming down.
Woofordale.
They're coming down, there's a Forest Service access.
So they're coming down to Wolferdale?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
And
goodness.
then, okay, yeah.
They've got that landing down at the
Yes.
bottom.
Yep.
And they would just go straight.
Yes.
Right, so the existing pipeline comes down, so they'll just follow up that pipeline. And I think it's right about it, just show up here, but right in here is the ski touring bridge.
Yeah, that's the Jackson Ski Trail.
But the ski trail comes in, as you're saying, makes it right behind.
Right, back here.
Yeah, that's the woods road. is pretty
Yeah, they
long.
share the road and the Jackson Ski Tour Trail share right there. And that landing will be over here in Whiffordale. And down Gracefield will be down here, Dallas.
If you guys ever want to go, I can show you around, or if you're curious.
Is there anything we should be worried about? Does it seem all make sense?
To me, it makes sense. The one item we were not expecting was having to put the fish passage in, but we ended up, in talking to the Forest Service, or actually DES, they decided that it was really warranted putting the fish passage in, so we did get Sean Sweeney and Edwards, their office, we put together a plans with his passage, so. And it turned out, we thought it was gonna be a lot more complicated than it was, and it actually worked out.
Fish
I'm glad.
passage through the dam.
Right, because obviously fish are gonna have a tough time jumping up 5 feet or whatever, that's a little much for him. So well above the reservoir, he's got a little structure he puts in that it's like a bunch of rocks piled in a V shape pointing downstream, and then a little, so basically it kicks some of the water off to the side, and then there'll be a little control structure, and then there'll be a little stream that will meander down around the dam and then come back in. For the most part, it's tying into an existing little tributary that's over there. You know, it won't work all year round because it's just not that much water in the stream,
But it
but,
doesn't need to.
right, but for a good portion of their spawning season, they'll be.
So that's this way on this middle.
My wife's grandfather was 97, but he used to stock above there.
Really?
With the Forest Service.
Oh,
They
cool.
kept fish in nets down below and then bring them up and dump them above the dam.
That's a cool story.
So instead of having the fish farm fish, they were real big fish. Yeah.
And then the road that they, when I know the road, it's pretty rough. It needs to be cleaned up anyway. Which is,
Right, so the other aspect of it, another good one, is the existing upper dam, the pipeline, it's a couple different materials, but between steel and cast iron and other pipes, it actually runs in the stream bed for a good chunk of it between the two dams and then below it, and then it finally gets out of it. So we're actually relocating that pipeline underneath the access road, so we'll have the pipeline.
will they do the thing that they never seem to do, which is remove the whole pipe and take it with them and then pull it?
We actually are planning not to take the pipe out of the stream.
Oh, okay.
We're just gonna plug it, and
Yeah,
everybody's opinion was we were gonna be more disruptive to the stream bottom to try to go in and dig to remove the pipe, and that's
Oh, yeah.
instead of just plugging it in.
Yeah.
Both impact, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that DES.
It'll rust eventually. No lead, though.
What's that?
No lead, though. No lead.
Oh, there's plenty of lead joint pipe there, that's for sure.
Oh, God. Might want to think about that.
Most of the old stuff is it's old steel spiral pipe. You can see some of the land.
Yeah, I've seen it.
It's amazing.
But there are some sections where you can see the old lead joint and pipe that was cast iron lead joint pipe. That's how they did it back in the day. That was.
And then how is this upper dam constructed? I mean, I see the notes there, but it's really
I
just,
have got details of it, but it's actually going to be a concrete structure,
okay, it is.
and it'll have it'll be 1.5 feet wide and 5 feet tall, and it'll be, I think there's 42 feet. It's kind of shaped in a little bit of a V facing downstream, so because there just isn't a lot of width there to get all this flow through. So if we make it a V, and as the water splashes over, it comes together and doesn't beat up the banks as much. So it's about, I think the total length is actually 42 feet across it, and then there's inside of it will be kind of a manhole in the structure, and there'll be some openings for whether it's going to the treatment plant or whether it's emergency overflow that goes over the top or whether it's aquatic flows and all those things. There's a few different openings in it.
Big swimming pool.
Yeah, exactly.
But is it just the spillway that's going to be concrete, or is all this going to be?
No, just the spillway itself.
The shell. Yeah.
And then on both sides of it, there's a earth berm, so this is just a mound of dirt. So this is just a line that will be across here. It's concrete.
So on elevation of the reservoir, so after they dredge it, roughly they're saying 953.5 feet.
Which, if you measure there's actually some spots on the uphill side of the dam that are actually slightly lower than that already. So we're carrying a little bit further.
I heard about this for so long, it's funny that
Yeah.
it actually,
No, it's been coming a long time. Precinct's always, this hasn't been in the top priority for them for a long time. When a water line
think people in town saw the fill going in earlier in the summer, because there were lots of questions about it. What's the Forest Service doing with all those trucks going up Greenville Road?
Oh, yeah.
And they were back, that's not us, it's the water precinct.
Yeah.
You know, this is off the, just because I'm always wondering where roads go, but do you know how far, follow that up, do you know what that road used to go to? Just sort of goes up the grade, and then I always wonder if it reconnects to the upper ultra. You know, why they would have carried that road out.
Yeah, I followed up some of the streams and they actually cross back over the Forest Service access road. It comes down. There's some surprisingly, like following an old boundary, there's some ditches in the middle of the woods that run through the woods.
Which was the old water line.
What's that?
Those ditches going through the woods, that was an old water feed back there. And also
It fed the reservoir?
yeah,
Yeah.
you still see some pipe in some places.
This is up above the upper reservoir. Yeah.
That's been more than I have.
What's that?
It sounds like you've not been more than I have.
We did a marking for a snowshoe trail. And the guy who was working with us knew everything about it.
Who was there? Peter Rich? Yeah.
So if you want to ask me much more about it, then I don't mind.
Yeah, we've discussed this.
Yeah, no, we had Victoria Bunker, she's a historic archaeologist, I guess it is. But she does all the research for the permitting for the state and those things. And old information she turns up, I don't know how she comes up with it. It's pretty interesting stuff.
That's awesome. Good job. So we can't, there's nothing for us to sign.
There's nothing for you to
We're just
sign.
informed now.
I will
So we feel very highly-
You guys would want to go take a look at it because that's normally what we do.
Yeah, we're very highly informed now.
Okay. If you're curious, take a look at
I'll
it.
still turn around, because I've never been an actual.
Yeah,
I'll never done it.
I think I have to see going back in my truck. I'll bring it in. You'll be like,
So that we need to authorize you to sign.
there's nothing to sign?
If you want to sign it before the meeting,
Yeah, if you could sign it at a session, that would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
make a motion to authorize.
The three of us.
Yeah.
I second that.
Okay. All in favor? Great. Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Larry. Interesting stuff.
Well, fun project.
Yeah, it's a cool zone.
Yeah. I'll be interesting once we get this done, I'm gonna redo the hydrant.
Yeah.
Cool. 3 hours looks good. 8 hour.
Thank you, Larry.
Thank you.
We'll see you.
All right. Jackson Falls. Where we all want to go sit.
If we go into that, when I read the minutes of the last meeting, you touched briefly on the golf course, Eagle Mountain Golf Course. I didn't understand that at all. I didn't know the golf course is not owned by the hotel.
That's correct.
And it's managed by a trust
Yes.
and owned by, the land is owned by.
Trust.
The land is owned by the trust.
Pretty much Badger folks.
Really? Well, I still heard Angus's name, so.
Yeah, it looks like Penny Miller and Angus are the two contact people for the trust.
Right.
So they own it, and they, I believe,
They have a 100-year lease to
to the hotel.
So Dick Belgian must have bought that a long time ago.
Yeah, and he did. He cut up, it's like, for example, where Dick DeValian lives. That was one of the lots that was cut out. The house is 2 over. It was a lot cut out. There's actually a lot between Dick's house and the Gray house that's right on the golf course. There's a 3-acre lot
Yeah.
between them. And they were built out so that they could build homes.
That was a 5-acre minimum.
Pardon?
Back when it was a 5-acre minimum and subdivided.
No, none of them, all 2 acres.
I think it's 5.
Yeah, they're all 2. None of them are 5. They're all 2, 3, and 2.5.
I thought Dick said it was 5.
That's not the size of the lot.
I'll go with your 3.
Then you add the 2 and the 3.
Pardon?
If you add the 2 and the 3, you get a 5.
Perhaps for the one, yeah.
Yeah.
Dick's was probably an exception.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and it's not the entire golf course, as they were saying, but it's mostly what's in the floodplain zone,
Okay.
and the flat down to the river parts.
Oh, okay.
Like the hotel does own. the
Yeah,
hillside.
they basically cut out all the buildable lots, and then the rest is the flood.
Well,
Well, why would you not?
why not, I suppose. Okay, thank you.
Sure. Jackson Falls. We have a draft of what we'd like to send to the select board to see how they feel about it for further work. Has everyone had a chance to read it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Great.
Just for comment, I put this together, basically, these were the things we talked about forever and ever, and tried to capture what I thought were the best of the best. I'm not sure if it's all inclusive,
I think you did a good job.
but I think it works through some of the concepts that we've tried to toss around. And I also wanted to try to make it such that we did not have a lot of issues with enforcement. Or go to a draconian kind of thing like they have down at Diana's Baths with $100 fines and that sort of thing, as a first shot kind of thing. And then if we don't achieve what our objective is, obviously we might try to go for a second shot of how to do that. But for example, trying to use physical barriers, fence you can't use a fence, but you can put boulders fairly close to the road and still not impact snow plowing at all. And for big boulders there, you can't park a car, as for example. Maybe the motorcycles might be able to pull in between. But that's an unusual circumstance and only in June.
Yeah.
I like that idea of the physical barrier, because I feel like what we currently have is not being enforced all the time. I mean, I know the police do their best.
And they do their
but-
best, and there's no reason to set up a situation where, now all of a sudden you've got a place that they have to monitor on a regular basis. They're busy, and we don't have, oodles of staff.
Yeah.
What I noticed is that there were 2 cars parked in the fire pond parking area, and one car parked like right across the street from the tennis courts. And I was just looking at it, going, that's really not a good idea.
They have a sign in that lot, don't
Well,
they?
the lot says no parking anytime, but it's really only on the side where the fire plug is, where the dry plug is. So,
I bet you if you asked them, can we park here and not park by the fire plug, I think they'd probably say, I would suspect they'd say.
I would suspect, if I read it, I would say I can park except near the plug. The way it's set, it's just not posted very well.
Well, I did see that, I think maybe a week or 2 weeks ago, there were 5 cars lined up on the other side of, the upside of the bridge on that side, which is kind of funny. It's like one parks and then they all just
Yeah.
I think we need more signage there.
Sure, well, that we can do. Let's go through these from the top. The eliminate parallel parking and see if we want to change anything or whatever. I think you did a good job of capturing what we've all been talking about. Eliminate parallel parking on the Carter Notch Road, except for the currently designated handicap spot. I think that's what we've all been saying, very straightforward. And I guess I'll kind of add my thought bubble of what agencies might get involved if and when the select board says, yeah, this is what we would like the town to work towards. So in this case, that would involve, in my mind, that's kind of what the select board in the past has said, that's the level where we need to go and talk to them, rather than just like, we can spread wood chips to our heart's content without going to get permission. So that's the select board, and then it would be DOT for the signage, because it's going to be in the DOT right away. Establishing a drop-off zone near the handicap spot, I also think is great. It could help people get to those other parking lots and send one person back, or however you need to do it. I mean, I know Jackson Falls is not Diane's Baths or Franconia Notch, but both of those are also heavily used locations where there's now drop-off zones and shuttles and like the kind of old line yards that have big parking away from a natural resource. Maybe some entrepreneur will come up with a quarter-mile shuttle or whatever it is. But again, that would be DOT to put up that sign, is my understanding. That would be part of the plan we would present to DOT. The posting of resident-only parking in the upper head parking just below Valley Crossroad. Again, that's what we've all talked about. We voted this spring. I think mostly, well, I think it's mostly me at this meeting that still feels a little iffy about residents only, but I know it has worked in other places and it would be a way to restrict and reserve spots for those that live in town.
I actually enjoy it. Right now, you go, you just did your survey, there was not one resident there.
Yes.
And there are 48 cars I counted earlier
I
today.
didn't come.
No.
I
There-
counted upwards of
And-
45.
Yes, there were 48 cars there today and not one was a resident.
At one time?
Yes.
Wow.
Mhm.
How do they do
How
that?
many 50 cars?
They're all up.
They go,
Like
well,
past Valley
Dick's
Cross.
house, they have 5 cars parked like this on Dick's property.
What?
They have 7 cars on the corner of where the 4 spots are.
It's ticketed.
Huh? Oh, no, there's no ticketing, they're not parking on the pavement.
Yeah,
And there's no,
parking signs
it's not
don't-
posted.
Don't start until past Dick's house, right?
And in your front of your yard, you get 6 or 7. And
Probably need the tow-away signs, that's what they had to put in at Dinah's Bath in order to make a difference.
God, now they have like $100 fine posters.
And I drove by there today, and there was not one car on the West Side Road parked. Not one. Not one. The closest one that was parked was a half a mile away down from the entrance, and people were walking a half a mile to get to the parking area so they could walk the extra 3/4 of a mile down to the baths. Everything else was everything else were parking at the Glen Builders or the other side where the parking's available to them.
I think the Conway Police Department also last year made a special effort to hand out those $100 fines.
And there's a tow-away zone all the way down a half a mile each side.
Doesn't the Conway have a sun for?
Not one car.
They said police monitor, they put out any columns or something like that. Last year it said police monitor. So they really did go.
And today is a really bad day, and it was just totally clear.
Yeah. So I think we will all go with that. I mean, maybe with online participation, but
I mean, I'm neutral on residents only because it does feel a little elitist, but I just don't want to see parking on Carter Notch Road. So I'm willing to do whatever it takes. And if that pleases residents, like if people think that they would use it, I mean, like I personally don't think I would drive down there and park in a residents only spot because I think it's still busier than where I like to go swim. So I wouldn't use it. But if people feel
It's a town
strongly about it-
recreation area.
No, I mean, I get
It's
that.
a town
I get that
recreation
part.
area that's not being used by the town.
Mhm.
That's like saying, okay, we have a ball field, but why don't we just have everybody come in to use our ball field? We restrict their ball field.
I understand
We don't
that
let
part.
everybody and anybody go out and play there.
Yeah. Is it really? Is it restricted?
No.
No. I was gonna
It
say.
is in the sense that technically, if you want to reserve it, you need to go to the town office.
You have to reserve it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just didn't pick up games.
It's pretty loose, but he's right. If it starts to be abused, you can come to the town office and say, "Hey, I live here and I want to try to reserve for Friday," and they'll look in the calendar and say.
But you just
"No
can't
one
have a
reserved."
soccer tournament over there, just willy-nilly.
Right.
You can't show up. Whereas right now, everybody can just show up at this recreation area and use it.
Well, if that's what the majority wants, I'm willing to go for it.
yeah. I mean, I guess I personally would, as long as the falls are protected, I kind of feel
Right.
Well, I think it adds protection to the falls as well, so it does both.
It might get local people more interested in it, hence more passionate about it, and maybe more
And that
competitive.
way you have
More
access
buy-in.
to like their super secret swimming spot, or it's harder to get in. So it might be more accessible for, some residents too.
Not much else.
I did not make a reference here for enforcement, simply just not to mess things up, but it would be easy enough for anybody who's a Jackson resident or Jackson landowner to get, the pass sticker and for $10, and it's a forever pass, as long as you live here.
And for the I think the two agencies would be, again, the select board, DOT, and in this case, the police department, in my way. And I'm sure the select board would go to them to ask their opinion about policing that via dump sticker or whatever the mechanism would be to identify a resident. Improve parking services and drainage in the upper and lower parking areas without pavement to enable lane markings for angled parking. Which seems like a good idea. I don't know how.
Well, right now, if you go up there, for example, today, 8 cars stuck into the travel lane more than a foot. Into the travel lane more than a foot because they have the truck is good size as yours, sitting with a bike rack
Right.
and a nice little extension for whatever trailer they're pulling. And it's not safe.
Well, that's where they should be getting a ticket, you would think, because they're sticking out into the truck.
Well, it is, and there's no enforcement on that, so.
Could say compact car only, or
I-
whatever.
It may be that there might be a couple of places where that should be appropriate, yeah.
Yeah, because even if you angle it, I know my truck's not even the longest, and if I can't go angled, I feel like I'm sticking out.
We were talking to Mike before the meeting, and he wasn't able to make it, but one of his questions was, how do you mark lanes on non-pavement?
It's very easy. The right kind of pavement is it is permeable, but you can also
Gravel?
No, it's not like gravel. It's a little bit harder than gravel, but it's permeable. But it's sufficient that you can actually mark it.
So it would be like painted still?
Yeah, I don't think we'd go out there with the line markers. Yeah.
Well, he was just curious. I had the same question. If it wasn't paved, I was imagining it similar to the way that it is
Yeah.
now, and if you would like spray paint or something.
Yeah.
But you are envisioning a change to the surface.
Yes.
So that's
Yeah.
wonderful.
And also that's another safety hazard. Right now, there are gullies going down the whole thing, and cars bottom out. It's
I noticed too, just driving down here for the meeting, that where people are pulling up onto the bank, like into the blueberry bushes, that roadside ditch is getting deeper than it used to be.
Because the roadside
Because-
wheel keeps.
Yeah, keeps compacting
And
it.
the water travels faster.
Yeah.
Something I'm wondering kind of with some of these items is if we basically need to hire our town engineer who was just here to help essentially
Make a
come up
plan.
with a solution to some of these things about what do you pave it with, how do you mark it.
absolutely, yeah. But again, I think that somebody has to buy onto the idea that we'll do it.
Yep.
Right, yeah, I think we have to just submit this.
And if
Yeah.
they say, no, we're not going to reject it out of hand, why bother doing
Yes.
all the detail?
I agree. I'm just thinking ahead to the funding for it.
Yeah, it's a bunch of work,
Yeah.
and it will probably require funding.
But there's a bunch of work regardless, you can't leave it really like it is. I mean, you're wasting money by maintaining it, have it wash out the way it currently washes out.
Well, not fixing it after it washes out, that doesn't cost anything.
Right, well,
And when you dump
that's
sediment
fair.
into the water, sedimentation is the worst thing you can do to the
Yeah.
water, I guess. So you keep adding more water, sediment.
False.
Great.
Not even.
Physical barriers, what we talked about a little, basically boulders on Carter Notch and Valley Cross Road. Again, I think it's great. I think we'll get pushback from the road agent, and I think the select board will mediate that one. But
But I will reference every national park that requires snow plowing and uses concrete blocks 2 feet from the road.
Yeah, I know we
But
did.
wasn't it an issue when we
It was.
built the fence?
Yes,
That's because it's a fence.
Because
Yeah, but
It's a state.
we've had this conversation before, and maybe they'll be more lenient, but in the past, placing the boulders within a certain distance of the road was a no-no because they want to drop the wing plow.
Right.
yeah, I thought Pat told us that there was like a
Yeah.
I can't remember.
On the
what
other
it
hand, if
was.
they drop the wing plow where some of these boulders might be placed, they're going to be taking out the bank. And so
I know.
it's an argument that is totally ridiculous.
I'm just
And,
saying.
and
it's just
I understand, but it's a local nonsense argument.
Yeah.
That somebody's saying, well, that's the way it needs to be, and it's not that way anywhere else in the whole state. Just in Jackson, it's a problem.
Right.
So it's like,
It's-
you know, you can go on Tangamegas and see the same kind of barriers that are set at appropriate distance from the road, but would eliminate the possibility of parking in that space.
Yeah, problem
And
solved.
that's what I'm talking about. There's got to be some distance. It's like 4 feet, 5 feet, whatever the heck it is. It's going to allow that wing plow to go down if they really wanted to. If they're not going to, because they're going to take out the bank.
Right.
And it's going to prevent a car from parking and still not hanging 3 feet into the road.
No, I'm all for it. Believe me.
I did notice this past winter, I don't know if you guys did on Valley Cross, that basically they're plowing perpendicular to the road, right next to the bridge,
Yeah.
on both sides. It's like, it's not being plowed for,
Parallel to the road.
pretty seriously too.
And pretty inappropriately too.
I don't know.
Yeah, I
I'm just
don't-
commenting.
Yeah,
Based on- I don't know if it's,
It's based on worst case scenarios, like if something does happen and they have the opportunity to remove the snow, they do.
I mean, they also do use that area as the snow dump for a large chunk of that
Yeah.
portion of Coronach
Yep.
Road, because they carry it down when
Right.
it falls
Yeah.
and dump it there.
But I think there's equipment out there that would allow them to be flexible about how they do it. Moving snow.
They might take an extra hour. Yeah.
Right.
And Pam might not get her road plowed if they're trying to get an extra hour up the falls.
Yeah, but that's usually done. That's usually done after the fact, and they usually go out there with a backloader to fix it.
No, I think it's good. I think we should push for anything we can get, because this is getting old.
Coming back to the parking on Valley Cross, this is just an observation, but my wife and I were driving out at 1 o'clock yesterday to the library thinking it was opening around that time. It turned out to be 2. And so we drove down Valley Cross, and at the fire pond, there must have been about 8 or 9 cars parked in that tiny lot, you know. Opposite where the tennis courts are, there was another 6 or 7 cars. You know, nobody playing tennis, but tons of cars. So we thought, crumbs, you know, people are saving themselves 100 yards or something because they're not parking in the ski trail parking lot. So an hour later, you know, so the library wasn't open yet. We went home. An hour later, we drove down the same road. So around 2 o'clock. Same cars, both sides of the road. Has anybody else noticed? Was it just that yesterday was a pretty hot day and maybe the first
On the
one
weekend.
being the weekend? But does it get worse on the weekend on Valley Cross? You know, with those two.
I don't drive Valley Cross enough to know. I mean, I do know it is worse on off days and on weekends.
Because, you know, especially there's a fire, you know, there's
I've never seen cars really parked in the fire pond for any.
it caught our eye immediately. It was
Right.
so uncharacteristic. You know,
Yeah.
just
I
drive.
think people are probably being told about the Jackson Ski Tour parking, and as they go up, they see that, and you're like, bingo, I'll park here instead.
But there was just the one car in there. That was the odd thing. Because, you know, it's that extra bit.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, it's 95 degrees or something.
Right.
And, you know,
Yeah,
3 kids.
I would say that I've almost never seen anyone parked in the pond parking lot.
I've never seen that
So
before.
yesterday was maybe the exception. I don't know what it was like today.
Well, yesterday there were that was the 54 car, and yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering if this was a sort of a harbinger of things to come, you know, because people drive up, if they find everything full,
Yeah.
carte blanche isn't that much better, you know, because
Yeah.
Before you know it, there are no parking signs. So the first place to turn is Valley Cross, and free land.
And where do you live?
99. So it's where Valley Cross comes into.
He's the yellow house, the hill house.
So we're Bill's neighbours. We're up one.
Bruce Hill's old house.
Bruce Hill's house.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So between Bill and the Saints, Carson is
Cool.
sandwich there. So it was quite a shock, just to see that number of overflow
Right.
cars. Just.
And if there's no parking signs in that pond spot and no one is paying attention, then clearly it's not doing its job.
But what Bill's saying is that that's for the pipe, for the,
It appears that way.
I always thought it was the whole, I've never.
I don't know the answer to the question of whether it's for the whole thing or whether it's not just posted no parking anytime so you don't clog up the opportunity to use the drive lane.
Because I don't know if you've ever seen the fire trucks go in there and fill up. They back right up.
I agree with you.
So there's no-
I agree with you.
Yeah.
On the other hand, the way it looks.
Yeah.
Because I think it's one of those arrows, right? No parking anytime.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
It's just no parking anytime right there. And when I didn't used to live in Jackson, I never could figure out whether or not it meant just for there or the other place. So I would interpret it that way. Why wouldn't you if you're an outsider? All of a sudden it's a magic sign that says a little sign over in the corner covers this whole big lot.
Right. Well, that's up to the Shasta Town. That's fire chief what the rule is. They just have to
Ask
set
them
a
to
sign
post
and
it more
They
clearly.
need to post it more clearly.
they see the zone and they don't want us in.
But I think we might need the parking signs that say tow zone too.
And for that, we could do that.
Just have to be more
But
serious. I think,
again,
than the
that's not ours per se, but I think the whole parking management process signage should probably work through.
This just has to get done.
We should probably take some pictures too and start documenting it.
All right, next one is improve parking signage to include the redirection to the Ski Touring Valley Cross Road and to the village one, specifically Historic Society parking. I think that's great, and I think we could do that now. So I guess,
Will they let us put signs in at the Jackson Ski Tour?
Yes.
Okay. That would be a good idea.
yes, so I guess we would need ones at the falls, like say overflow parking, blank, and then one there.
Obviously, we need to coordinate, but yes, the answer is yes.
All right, so does anybody want to make a motion if I talk to the road agent to buy some signs to extend some funds?
Motion.
Second it.
All in favor? Thank you. Request DOT to lower the speed limit at the falls. I guess I currently don't know what the speed limit is at the falls.
35.
In both ways?
Yes.
Okay. So it would be lowering it below 35?
You can move it to like 20, and it can be.
Is what you're proposing?
Yeah, right now, if you go 35, the post is just below the falls. It changes from 30 to 35,
Yeah.
just below the falls, at the exact same time where the parking area begins in about 100 feet. So people start, going up the hill, you're not going that fast, most people. Anyway, because your car doesn't do that. The grade's pretty high. And then people start accelerating right when people are getting out of these big monster vehicles with coolers and standing in the middle of the road. And when I say that, I mean that literally. There could be as many as 20 people standing in the road at the same time up there on a day like today. Standing in the middle of the road. And here we have a deal where we increase the speed going up the hill because, maybe your car can probably go faster anyway. It doesn't make sense to have a speed limit increase in a danger zone. Hey, middle of winter, who cares?
All right. So keep 30 mile speed zone until Valley Cross Road. And or put up a congested zone sign, something to that.
Or something. It would be nice to post it 20, for the day, for the 8 or 20 days, whatever, make it 20 miles per hour.
Yeah, it would kill people.
Well,
Well, we wouldn't kill people.
that's what it might not kill people, yeah. course, at 5 in the morning, when folks are driving down, they're going to go the 60 they go anyway, so it doesn't make any difference. And they do. They go about 55 miles an hour down the road there until they hit the swerve by the castle. It's scary. You don't walk your dog down there at 7 in the morning.
So there must be people who live on Carter.
Pardon?
People who live on Carter House are driving it that fast.
Yeah, it's residents, but it's not the residents, it's the people who use Eagle Mountain House for the weddings, and they're coming back after their Friday night wedding, and they're touting 55 miles an hour down that road if you want to clock them.
They need some speed bumps.
Yeah, because they are not residents, they think it's a wonderful, they can drive their nice little wonderful vehicle as fast as they can down a old country road. There's nobody going to pay attention to.
At 6 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah, it's probably not residents. Residents are probably, shooting it at 45.
I would like to change, I like your last paragraph, I would just like to change the with the exception of the latter or within the purview of the town to just say we believe these steps will help the town of Jackson to maintain safe egress to the recreation area. And then in contacting the select board, say, once you say yes to these things, we would like to work with whomever
Cool.
you think,
I was trying to put one in there.
Great.
Are we going to vote on this? Because I have to leave. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah.
All in favor with edits as recommended?
All in favor, great. We will clean it up, send it out, send it to the select board.
And thank you very much, Bill.
Yeah, thanks for doing it. Will you finish taking minutes?
Yes, I will.
Have I done it so far?
That's okay. That's the rules. Any other comments for the falls?
I think it's a good job. I'm really happy with, I'm happy that you followed through with it, and it's good to me. Thank you, Bill, for all your work. You can monitor that all the time. I mean,
Well, yeah. The good part is that from the house, we actually do not see the,
no, you'd have to walk out.
you have to actually walk the
Sure.
drive to actually get out there. I think, Chris, you see it more than I.
Well, I've seen those speeding vehicles, I think it's the last time we were out, somebody came roaring down from Eagle Mountain House, probably at 55 and 60, and I thought, crumbs, I hope he slows down, because it's not too far before that bend. But by the sound of the engine, he kept on going. I mean, he must have just put his brakes on at the right moment.
I ride my bike every morning, and about 7:30. And Carter Notch Road is not bad, and mostly it's cars coming down. Not too many people pass me as I go up.
Right.
People coming down, and I think they're quite respectful. As compared to the hill I live on, people are horrible. They
Yeah.
speed down there unbelievably.
It's like the only street shop in town.
Gosh. But they're pretty good. I'm not scared as I ride up there.
Well, it seems like you're always blind when you're on Carter House Road. You have to just sort of be prepared for anything if you're driving.
You should.
That's how I feel.
Yeah, you should.
Anything else? Any new business? Other business? Great. Any motions to adjourn the meeting?
Motion to adjourn?
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
They took away the big plywood plank that the
Oh, great.
falls. They left some smaller stuff, so if anybody goes by and feels like,
I'll
but
stop.
that was really good.